We're here to talk about your plant-based journey and also about Sage. And so I'm really excited to have you here. But also, Cam, I mean, we joke about the in the introduction about how you're this wonderful athlete, and you are, and you've had so much success with boxing and so many things. But you also are a motivational speaker as well. Is that right?
Yes, yes. I've been speaking since about 2008, so I've been doing it for a while now. Started speaking after I won my first national championship, and speak at a lot of schools and corporate organizations on resilience, having a mindset of a champion, and also making the right decisions. And as motivated as I've been as an athlete, one of the hardest things to do to stay motivated on is uh, diet and lifestyle. And as a boxer, I originally got into boxing to lose weight, and I did lose weight. But throughout my Olympic journey, I've always had my ups and downs with weight. And even after becoming vegan, I was became vegan in 2012, and still I've had some ups and downs with my weight. I've lived in a van for a couple of years, and it was kind of hard to hold keep consistent with a diet. And I didn't even know what that looked like because growing up, I haven't didn't get to see it what a healthy, proper lifestyle looked like. And actually, living with Sage allowed me to change my body in so many ways. Just kind of following a plant-based lifestyle.
Yeah, you want to talk about the picture that I'm showing now?
Oh yes, to the left, that was probably 2000, probably 2000, maybe 2013. I That was the very beginning of my plant-based journey, and I got down from 270 to 191 pounds. But then I went back up to about 200 because that was the weight class. But being able to change my diet and actually, it wasn't even just my diet. It was actually my lifestyle, the way I thought, and the way I viewed food. And I had to view it as a fuel instead of a item of fun.
Very nice. That's a good way of looking at it, and that's quite a risk, though, to take, especially since, well, I think that there's not as much evidence as, at least back then, there wasn't as much evidence as far as being a athlete and going plant based, because everybody's promoting the animal protein, and here you are competing, and so you kind of took a risk to do that, and it seems like it paid off.
Yeah, and that was kind of the cool parts of it because when I first became vegan, I was telling everyone, they're like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that." But doing it, I've won more national championships as a vegan athlete than otherwise. So being vegan was a kind of a major shift. But it wasn't just the food; it was being conscious of everything that I consumed, whether it be food, music, movies, media. Just being conscious of my consumption altogether was kind of the overall arching change of the lifestyle.
Yes, and when we talked on the previous interview, you had tell the. Do you want to just take a couple minutes to say how it turned out that you became plant based? For those that didn't get to hear the story, you can give an abbreviated version.
Yeah, 2012, I won the Olympic trials, and I was the first boxer to ever be suspended and kicked off the Olympic team for not filling out paperwork. And
So you have another
yeah,
some thing to add on to your introduction.
yeah, but it was I can laugh about it now, but during the time it was a
Oh
very
yeah.
difficult time in my life, and I lost a bet, and I'd gained 70 pounds, so I lost this bet and had to be vegan for 28 days, and I had to do the Engine 2 28-day challenge. I lost it to Bill and Amy Mackey, and it I had to be vegan for 28 days, and it was no meat, no, the whole food, plant based, no sugar, no salt, and it was a big shock for my system. But I credit losing that bet to changing my life, because if I wasn't forced to do the 28-day vegan challenge, I wouldn't have seen the difference my body could feel.
Wow. It's a fantastic story. It just kind of shows what your motivation can be when you decide, you make a commitment to yourself or to someone else. It shows about your integrity. which is very, very admirable. You make a bet and you stuck to it. You did what you said you were going to do, even though it might have been risky in your mind because of the boxing, or you decided to do it.
Yeah, I think a bet is just basically a promise,
Hmm.
and discipline is also a promise you make to yourself. So after I lost the bet, I had to, instead of thinking of it as now a bet, I had to think of it as discipline. And I think I'm awesome because I named myself that. So I'm going to hold a bet that I keep, hold a promise I keep with myself.
Well, Sage, you have a nice guy there.
I know, yes, yeah.
You really do.
He's
Why don't you
definitely,
tell
like,
us a little?
dedicated and loyal. Like, if he says he's gonna do something, he's gonna do it, and he does that with everything, so
That's a very admirable quality,
it
and
is.
so seems to be rare these days. So it's very nice. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey, Sage?
Okay, so I grew up in a small town in Western Massachusetts. My family, I come from a line of dairy farmers, so I kind of grew up on, like, farmland. Milk was, like, encouraged, meat was encouraged, and so growing up, I never really liked meat. I always thought it was, like, a little odd, but in my household, it was kind of like you have to eat a certain amount before you could leave the dinner table, and so I would just eat as little as I could to get by. And then as I got older, I realized I can kind of choose what I eat. And so, like, into my teenage years, I started to prepare my own meals, and I just wasn't eating meat, chicken here and there, but for the most part, no animal products. And it's actually funny because this morning I was thinking of what what the moment was that made me stop eating meat for good. And it was when I was 17 years old. I was just dating someone, and they had invited me over for dinner. And I went over, and I just, like, wasn't expecting, like, I didn't think about what they were going to be eating for dinner. And they had pork chops, and I had never eaten, like, pork. Like, the only meat I had eaten was chicken. Like, I stayed away from any kind of, like, red meat or anything like that. And I didn't want to be rude because I was kind of, like, confronted with the situation, and I wasn't a vegetarian. And I was like, oh, if I was a vegetarian, I could use that as an excuse and just say I don't eat meat, but I'm not a vegetarian. And that was kind of the moment that I was like, all right, I have to say I'm a vegetarian and go all in, or else I'm going to be confronted with these situations in the future. And it was really uncomfortable. And that's when I just cut it all together. And I became a vegetarian at 18.
That's just so amazing to at that young an age, because I can remember being that young, and it probably would have been very difficult for me to be in a social situation and stand up for what I wanted to do. And so you just, even at that young age, you knew that that was something that you wanted to do, and you decided, made that decision. And here you were raised on, around eating animals. It's just so
Yeah.
amazing that it just kind of came to you like that.
Yeah. And it is a difficult decision to make when you're surrounded by people who are enforcing it. I mean, encouraging it, because that's what they think is also best. So then for you to say, I don't think that that is best for me, and I'm making the decision to not do it, just, create some friction.
Yeah, especially around family. I mean, the people who don't grow up around a farm have
Yeah.
sometimes have things going on with their family that they have to try to manage. But this was their livelihood, and this is what
Mhm.
they had a strong belief system behind it. So that's very. Has any of your family members become plant-based since then?
No one's become plant-based since then, but I did have one cousin who was plant-based before me. So I used to think she was extreme. I remember saying that. I was like, I don't eat meat, but, like, if you eat byproducts, you're not hurting the animal. But that's because I hadn't done the research yet. And I think I was purposely avoiding it because I knew that there was something more. And then it was 8 years after becoming a vegetarian that I did finally watch the documentaries, and I was like, okay, I've seen enough, and now I can't make excuses. So that's when I made the switch to be completely plant-based.
Yeah, it just seems that some people come from a health reason, or the ethical, or the compassion, or environment.
Mhm.
Of course, Cam came in.
No,
He
he
had
was a
to
vet, which
has
is
to be
totally a
different.
Cam situation. Like, that sums him up. Yeah, can't lose a bet. That's
Okay, so everybody loves a love story. So I need to hear how you guys met. Cam, do you want to start off?
Okay. I was actually living in my van. So yes, guys out there living in your van, you can also snag a great prize too. But I was living in a van, traveling around the country, speaking at schools, and I was in Portland, Oregon, that area. And she's a school counselor in that area, and we connected and actually met for vegan dinner at Capitol, which it's a great vegan restaurant with great artichoke dip, but they've since closed.
Wow.
But we met there, and actually, because I was in town for a couple weeks, we just basically hung out all week, and then actually it was right around Thanksgiving, so she actually came with me in my van, and we drove down to San Francisco the first week we met, and our first date was probably almost 10 days long.
Yeah, it was an interesting first date because, yeah, Cam was just kind of in the area. And so we ended up we didn't think we were going to spend that much time together, but one day turned into the next. And Thanksgiving was coming up, and I was a school counselor, so I had time off. And he was like, I'm actually going to San Francisco to have Thanksgiving with my vegan friends. And he was like, would you want to come? And I was like, all right, I got nothing going on. And so we went and we had Thanksgiving, or my first vegan Thanksgiving, and it was amazing. And yeah,
it was good. It was actually, I don't know if your followers, if anyone's familiar with the Engine 2 diet, Amy Mackey, the lady who does all that type of stuff, that's who we went to go have dinner with.
Oh, wow. Yes. And that's why it was so great. Because,
Oh my God.
you had. So there are people that are single that watch. And sometimes it's the single life, it's kind of hard to navigate this. Did either of you say to yourself, well, if I'm going to date someone, they have to be plant-based? Cam, was that something on your checklist?
If we're being completely transparent here, when we talk about dating, such a broad word, right? Basically to say, if you're going to have a toothbrush in my house, you're going to need to be vegan. I don't want to read labels in my house. Yeah, I don't want to have to second check anything in my pantry, but I have dated non-vegans, but nothing serious. Sounds weird, but I wouldn't consider taking anything too serious with someone with such different values. Of course, not judging someone else for what they do, but if I'm really into plant-based eating, and I think that's a slippery slope. When people date someone who's not vegan, eventually it's going to be that other person's birthday, and you're going to want to go. They're going to want to go. The non-vegan want to go to their favorite restaurant, which doesn't have any vegan options, but it's their birthday, so you're going to have to go. So you either don't eat or you break. And of course, you're not going to break at first, but on her second birthday, when you're dating, you might break, or you might have something with a little bit of dairy in it, or it's a birthday shots. Oh, this liquor has a little bit of cream in it. Not a big deal. And to not deal with that, I just found my vegan goddess.
Oh, well, I think that, it's when you're dating, you want to find someone who aligns with your values and beliefs and morals and ethics. And it's nice to have them basically on the same page. So what about you, Sayge? When you were looking about dating, was that a factor for you that they were plant-based?
Yeah, this time around it was, because I had dated someone when I was a vegetarian and when I was transitioning into veganism. And I found that same problem that Cam was just talking about, where it's you become the problem because you have to find food for the vegan, because I have a certain diet and you can eat anything. And then I just felt like a burden. And so for me, I was actually living in Massachusetts when I became a vegan, and then purposely chose Portland because it's so plant-based friendly. I mean, there's so many different restaurants and the people there. And so that was my goal. I was like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to find this vegan guy. And then I got to Portland and I was like, ooh, not quite the vegan guys I was looking for. But I was on a dating app. And so, every now and then I'd be scrolling through, and then I found Cam. And when I found out he was vegan, I was like, I got to trap this one because I know he doesn't live here. And I did it.
She did it.
So you're the dating champion. That's good.
I got it. You
She did it with vegan food. It wasn't that hard.
Oh, wow.
But I'd
Well,
say be open to like where you're living too. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would say even if you're in a relationship with someone you're considering transitioning, it's important that anything you decide to do in life that your partner is on board, because the word
Right.
partner, it's the
Yeah.
person you're doing it with. And if the person that you're doing something with doesn't seem that interested in doing something, you either have to make the decision to stop doing it or stop being interested in the person who isn't interested in what you're interested in.
I like how you put that. That's very, very good. Very, very
Easier
valid.
said than done. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, there's so many things that you have to have on that checklist, and then that's a big one. It really is. But fortunately, it's becoming a little bit more mainstream. It's so I think it's so weird because I think that when you're dating, there are certain things that you have to say, okay, do I tell the person this XYZ, whatever it is, you can use your imagination on the first date? Or do I wait until I get to know them a little better? Because,
Here's my thought process, and I'm very transparent with her. To a fault.
Yeah.
You get everything from me on day one. I am an oversharer because I ain't got time, Amy. I don't want to spend 6 months getting to know you, meeting your family, and then finally I get you to spend the night and I snore. And now you don't like me because I snore. You need to find out everything about a person off the bat. And instead of wasting my time, I tell you, I'm very transparent in the very beginning, and if you don't like it, keep it moving. There are 8 billion people in this world, Amy. You can't swipe right on them all. So try someone out. If you don't like them, move on. But when you do find your person, dedicate yourself to them.
Oh, that is so sweet. Oh, goodness. He's just like checking off all the boxes, Sage. So now we have to give some kudos to you. Who is the principal cook in the house? I'm guessing.
By cook, do you mean the person who tries what's cooked?
He does
The
not.
person who prepares food that finally gets eaten.
No. Yeah, that one.
Yes, that would be me.
Actually, I would share when we first got together, I would eat these large portions of food
Mhm.
because I thought if you ate as fast as you can get more food in before you get full. And sounds like a weird concept, but it's the way I would always eat. And I've always had a bad relationship with food. And actually living with Sage and kind of seeing her portion size and the way she eats, and she's made me, without shaming me or anything, because of course you need someone to tell you the right way, but she explained to me the proper way to eat. And one of the things that we kind of discovered the way I'm bad with food is I needed to intermittent fast. I did that for probably about 8 months. I started on December 4th. It was Jay-Z's birthday, RIP. Not RIP, but that's the GOAT. But what I did learn from intermittent fasting is working from home. I go to the fridge maybe about 6 or 7 times and open it up before noon. And I would open up the fridge and I'm like, oh, I can't eat until 12. And I close the fridge back. And I open the fridge again.
Were you hungry?
No, I was just bored.
Okay.
I just work from home. So I just stroll to the fridge. I open the fridge up and I look at the microwave. It's like 8:17. And I close it back. I go back to my office. Can't eat until 12. I come back out, open the fridge, look at the microwave. 9:13. I would do this over and over. And I realized I'm not even hungry. And then at 12:01, I would eat real fast. And after 3 months of this, I realized nothing happens when you're hungry. Yeah, that was my revelation. I thought if I was hungry, I would die, I would melt. Like, no.
Yeah, he never allowed himself to be hungry.
I never allowed myself to be hungry. If I was a car's gas tank, I would always be anytime I get to three quarters of a tank, I would refill again.
Refill.
Wow. She taught me the correct way to eat. So I'll let her speak on that.
Yeah, talk about the correct way to eat that you learned about Sage.
I don't know. Conscious consumption, yeah. Which is something that I've had to learn too. I mean, I lost 4 years ago, I was 40 pounds heavier. So I've lost 40 pounds in 4 years. And I think that's just the whole discipline thing. I mean, my whole life, I envisioned myself being a healthy adult, even though I wasn't a healthy kid. And I think if you have that vision, eventually, I mean, you're just going to get there. Like it was a slow implementation of, I would find the right foods, but I was still eating a lot. Like, I would eat out of boredom as well. And I don't know, over time, I think it's just, as long as for me, it was more important that I was eating healthy foods than like how much I was eating. So I just slowly transitioned to like healthy foods so I could eat as much as I wanted. I'm gonna go get the charger. And then once I did that, then it's just kind of like listening to your body. It's like slowly your body tells you what you need and when you need it. And then when I get hungry, I kind of just scan the healthy foods that I have available to me, and my body tells me which things I want and I eat it. I don't count any calories because to me that's like takes the joy out of eating. I don't feel guilty when I eat something that is like unhealthy, like a sweet or pizza. Like because I eat in moderation and I just kind of eat when I'm hungry, I don't know, it just works. And it's like, I fought it for like the longest time when it wasn't working, and now it just kind of clicked, and I'm just thankful for it. I think if you work at it long enough, eventually it'll just click and you'll figure it out.
I would say she's really good at small, effective changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things that she does every evening, what you can just tell them about the peanut butter cups. Every evening she makes peanut butter cups. Tell them what the ingredients.
So the base is like a walnut, date, peanut butter, and oats, and then there's peanut butter on top, and then a little bit of chocolate, and you just put them in the freezer. So I have like these little silicone cups, and then every night, like that's our treat.
We just have one of these little cups, and it's our dessert. It's like kind of routine, and we look forward to it. Some nights, if we're feeling crazy, we have two, but it's a plant-based. It's a raw vegan treat, and every 2 or 3 days she makes them, and we look forward to it at night. So we eat dessert 7 nights a week.
Yeah, and I think it's like the planning it out. So it's like if you plan it out, like I know what I'm going to pretty much eat day to day, then I don't know, you can kind of get, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like if you don't have it scheduled, then you're more likely to just grab something that's convenient, that's like not healthy. Or
when people talk about healthy food is expensive, they're wrong. Healthy food is the cost of food. Convenience is expensive.
Yeah.
Convenience is very expensive. So if you want something healthy, there's nothing cheaper than vegetables. Go to the produce section. There's nothing cheaper. But the convenience of having it prepared, that's the difficult part. And she is a master.
Yeah. So you just have to commit to doing it. So it's like, I know every night I'm cooking dinner, and it's like not always my favorite thing to do, but it's like, it's important to me to have a good home cooked meal each night that tastes good, that's also healthy. And
it changes the way your day goes. Like when you have fresh cooked home, like food from home, you just feel better. It's like I don't even remember I know. I used to not feel good. Like when I was younger, I just thought like stomach pains were like normal and that kind of stuff. And when you switch to a plant-based diet, you don't even realize what feeling good feels like. Like I didn't even realize I was feeling bad. I didn't know that was feeling bad. I thought that was the normal, the baseline. And now that I feel good, if I get off track and I'm eating a little bit worse, like if we're traveling, we just crave healthy food. It's like, let me get back to that baseline because I feel so off right now. Yeah. But also we're not militant with it.
No.
We just went up. We got to go to where we first met in Portland a couple weeks ago. The restaurant capital is closed. They didn't make it through the pandemic, but we got to go to another vegan restaurant over there.
Yeah.
So it's, forgot where I was going with that.
I did too.
Well, sometimes you go a little off track, especially if you're traveling.
Yeah, we went to all these different vegan restaurants, and one of the cool things about being vegan for me that was good in the beginning was the limited options. If I could stop off at the McDonald's drive-thru just today, not all the time, just today, I would do that every single day. And I know because I want the convenience of something easy. And when I first became vegan in 2013, I've been vegan, actually, last week it was 10 years. Yay. But one of the things was it was limited in 2012. There's limited options. But now there's vegan junk food everywhere, which is great for the animals, but it's hard to stay in shape. But we still eat. We don't eat 100% healthy. It's just all about moderation.
Oh, well, I wanted to give a shout out from Charles. So he said, hello, Amy, Cam, and Sage. Hi, Charles.
Hi,
Thanks for,
Charles.
he said he's checking in from Facebook in Michigan. And Jesse Tees gives you a heart over there. And I think that Angela Pachetti, she's done yoga with us. She's saying hi. Hello, Angela. So a
Hey,
lot of
Angie.
nice people are coming on board. Now, Jesse, Sage, you had talked earlier about byproducts, and so I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but Jesse had, that was another question she had, but she wanted to know about what are byproducts, to tell
So-
people what they are, because you were talking about that.
Yeah, so the difference between vegetarian and vegetarian, you don't eat the animal, and then vegans, you don't eat the animal or what they produce, so the byproducts. So their milk, eggs, honey, leather, yeah,
gelatin.
yeah. So just the things they produce.
Yeah, because people think Jello seems like it should be vegan, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
and most gummies as well.
and
Yeah.
gummies, yeah, that's right. And they have things in there that you would not expect that are from animals.
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't question what's in their food. And then once you, like we turned vegan, it's like then you're reading labels and you're like, milk is in so much stuff. Like you would never think that it's in the stuff it's in.
That's weird. Also, what's weird is now that you start to look at what you eat and you're conscious of what you're consuming, people start to look at you crazy for wanting to know what you're putting in your body.
Right. Yeah. Someone stopped us at the grocery store because we were checking the ingredients.
Reading the labels. Like, you read labels? I was like, you put things in your body that you don't know?
It should be weirder that you're not checking the labels, but
Yeah,
but
that's true.
You did think your vegan cousin was extreme.
oh, I did. Yeah. And that's the thing is I thought vegans were extreme too. And I think once you learn, you're like, oh no, it's just that it's become normalized to not question things. And when you do question things, you become odd.
So now, Cam, well, Sage met you when you were living out of your car, which I guess your personality really did shine.
He was paying rent on an apartment. He wasn't living in the apartment.
You weren't literally, you had a domicile, you just weren't at it at the time that you met.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that really has a lot to say about your commitment to the lifestyle. And you said that the two of you did some traveling together. So Jesse wanted to know, do you have any food travel tips to stay on plan?
I will start with the Happy Cow app. The Happy Cow app, it's basically Tinder for vegan food. Wherever you are, it tracks your location. It tells you all the vegan places, all the vegetarian places, and all the places with vegan and vegetarian options. And it's like different bakeries, food trucks. And I like to use that app first anytime I go to an area. I've used it in multiple countries, all over America. There are different vegan places everywhere. So that's one of my tips if you're looking for vegan food. Mm-hmm. Second thing I would say, I like to tell vegans, go to restaurants that aren't vegan and thank them for having a vegan option when you eat there. Because if they realize that, because they're a business, they're not just out there trying to kill animals. If they find out, oh, people actually, not everyone wants to kill animals, other people will come here to eat vegan food, they'll start offering vegan options. And then people who aren't vegan will eat there and say, oh, what's this? Oh, I guess I'll try this cauliflower wings. And that's how kind of things get out there. So one travel tip is leave reviews on any vegan place and places with vegan options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say pack healthy snacks. So I like to pack like dried fruit, some nuts, and that kind of stuff because we always find that we're getting hungry and it's hard to find the convenient, healthy vegan options. So we usually have some snacks with us.
Yeah.
So some good ones.
Yeah, that's very smart. And you talked earlier about being hungry, and I mean, hunger is the best sauce. So really, it does motivate you to want to eat. Whereas when you're not hungry, you just are eating recreationally, and it does make a big difference. So it's more difficult to stay committed when the hunger actually happens. And so being prepared, that's so wise to do that.
Yeah, you have to, and especially like going over to other people's houses, like even my family, it's like I just know that I have to bring my own stuff because yeah, you just have to be prepared. You can't expect everybody to accommodate your needs. And I get that, which is fine. That's why I come prepared.
Yeah.
I like my Tupperware.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the first time I did that, I made the mistake of only bringing enough for myself and my husband Rick, and some of it looked so good that people thought that
We
they
get
should
that a
have
lot
it.
too. We get that a lot.
And then you kind of get
Right
like
now,
food policing around. You're like, "Oh, wait a minute." You've had that experience too?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
yeah. She takes such the food she makes on a regular basis looks like Instagram food, but she doesn't even take pictures of it. Like I wish we were. If I was better with pictures,
Because I'm not good with pictures either.
She's good with cooking and
Yeah.
just the flavors. Like one of the things that I didn't realize when I became vegan is when you go into a grocery store, there's a bunch of weird fruit and vegetables that you don't really know what they are. And when you eat meat, you basically only eat 3 animals.
Yeah.
And you lean on those. So when you take those 3 things out of your diet, you start walking around the produce section and you start eating and trying things you would have never otherwise tried. And you learn there's so many different flavors and spices and different tastes out there. And that has been like one of the big things I learned is like try new things.
Mm-hmm.
She does purple carrot.
Yeah.
And they give these different recipes and different ideas. And we ran into Japanese sweet potatoes.
Oh,
I love them.
Yeah.
where were you all my life?
But it becomes fun just learning about different recipes and foods and trying things out. I find it fun at least.
Yeah. You got to make it into an adventure and make
Yeah.
it something you want to do. Don't make it seem like work. You have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Now, some people who have adopted the lifestyle are SOS free, which means sugar, oil, and salt free. Are either of you going in that direction?
We don't do sugar.
There's no sugar in this house.
We do salt, and then we do a little bit of like avocado oil or coconut oil, but we're not completely oil free or salt free.
Okay.
Salt is free is interesting. I don't know if I would want to do that.
With the engine too, I'll say salt free was disclaimer terrible.
Yeah, I don't think
for
I would
the
like
first
that.
3 weeks because it takes 3 weeks for your taste buds to adjust.
Yes.
So it was, but when I was doing when I first did the 28 days with Amy, we actually ended up doing like the first 6 months. We did on the 29th day. I had vegan pizza and I cheated. It was vegan pizza, but there was oil and sugar. But
Yeah.
I did salt free for about the first 6 months. We limit salt, but it's to me for us in our lifestyle, it's not that big of a deal.
Right. It might be something when you get older that it might mean something to you, but at this point, it's not meaning something, which is and that's fine. Everybody has their own journey in the way that they go, and as long as you're adopting this lifestyle in one form or another, especially if you could avoid the processed foods. I mean, is that you would say that you probably avoid a lot of those as far as
we would.
Your own.
She avoids processed foods. I just eat what she makes. But she does a lot of, I guess, a lot of fruits and veggies and actually
Cold
juicing.
Greens, a lot of juicing.
We started juicing recently.
Mhm.
Oh, so tell us about that. What are you juicing?
We juice anything. So pretty much I just go grocery shopping each week and just get a ton of produce. So then I use it for any kind of meal. And then whatever I have left, I just juice it. So it's nothing, no special recipe I follow. But we have these big jugs that we keep in the fridge, usually with fresh juice. So we'll have that each day.
We did watermelon juice yesterday.
Oh my gosh, the watermelon juice was so good.
Oh.
And watermelons, the whole thing is pretty much juice. So
Yeah.
you get so much out of it. So I'm going to do that all summer long.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, that is definitely refreshing.
Yeah.
So we have some people that watch that either they're a male or they know someone who is male that is kind of hesitant about adopting the lifestyle because they're worried that maybe they'll lose muscle or they'll lose something that makes them feel manly. So I wanted we have a little bit of a true or false quiz that we're going to do. So I'm going to do that right now.
It's time for True or False on Be Green with Amy Live. Answer true or false to Amy's questions in the comments below, and Amy will ask our guest for the expert answer.
Okay, so here's a question. True or false? you can't build or maintain muscle on a whole food plant-based lifestyle because you won't get enough protein. So, Green Warriors, type in your answer, true or false. And because we're talking about men, especially maybe adopting this lifestyle, Sage, did you want to talk about that?
About the
True or
question,
false?
so true or false?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
wait,
We're
what's the
letting
question again,
everybody.
that you can't get enough?
Yeah. So can you get? It's saying that
Yes.
you can't get protein.
Yeah, but you can get enough protein on a plant-based
Right.
diet. Yeah, I just actually was reading a book, Proteinaholic,
Hmm.
which talks about our country's obsession with protein, and we think we need all of this protein, and that carbs are so bad, but it's actually the opposite, where we need carbs. Carbs are good kinds of carbs, complex carbs, and we don't need as much protein as everyone assumes that we do need. And plants have plenty of protein. There's a lot of different sources of protein within plants. So yeah, false.
Yep. False. Good answer. And you want to talk a little bit more about that because you had to be concerned as far as being an athlete, Cam. What was your experience?
So when I lost the bet and had to be vegan for 28 days, I wasn't happy about it. Like in hindsight, I'm glad it happened, but in the moment, wasn't happy about it. But because I'm a man of my word, I just said I will eat what you tell me to eat, and I didn't care why I was eating what I was eating. I was my part of the deal is I eat this for 28 days. I don't care what it does for my body or anything like that. So I know nothing. But what I did learn was I started feeling better and I couldn't figure out why. Obviously, because it was because of the vegan stuff. And when I would hear people talk about protein, I never even considered that meat gave me protein. I never looked for protein in meat. I don't know why I would look for it in veggies. So to me, it wasn't a deal breaker. And then after winning all these national championships, people started coming up to me and telling me that I couldn't get protein without meat. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I don't count protein. Like,
No,
I don't count protein. I don't count carb. I don't count anything. Here's the thing. What I realized, anyone who's telling you that you need protein is coincidentally selling you protein. People will only tell you,
or want to justify their protein intake,
or justify their protein intake, or they've been tricked. It's all marketing.
It is a lot of marketing, yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I agree with you, and everybody's just very confused about the limited information that they get exposed to, or like you said, Sage, that they're just trying to justify the lifestyle that they're comfortable with, and they don't want to think about that maybe they could do it differently.
Yep. Here's the thing, Amy, is when you think about 28 days, 28 days is not that long of a time. Like there are people who get arrested and are held for more than 28 days before seeing someone. So not the end of the world. And while they're held in jail for crime they didn't commit, 28 days, not that long of a time in the eyes of the law. You have to eat specific food, even though you don't want to when you're in jail. So if you did 28 days in jail, you'd have to eat what they told you. Look at it like that. Remove all the food out your house that you're not supposed to eat, and for 28 days, follow a strict plant-based lifestyle. And after 28 days, if you don't feel remarkably different, go back to eating the way you did, because that was my plan. After 28 days, I never looked back, and it's been 10 years.
Wow. That is so true. And I think that like one of the worst nightmares that somebody who's on a plant-based lifestyle would be that they were arrested and had to spend any amount of time in jail only because they wouldn't be able to get the food that they wanted.
Yeah, a lot of rice and beans.
Yeah. But the thing is, if you can do it in jail, why can't you do it outside of jail?
Some people
That's
don't
right.
have to go to jail. Some people don't go to jail, man.
Yeah, some people don't go to jail. Yeah. It's always an option, not go to jail and just be vegan outside of jail.
Yeah, exactly. So when you were, Cam, when you were doing this lifestyle while you were competing in boxing, so did you eat anything special before the match or before the training that
No.
would give you energy? You know, what was your strategy as far as food goes?
I didn't do anything. I think here's the thing. I think a lot of people overthink this whole athlete thing. Everyone's looking for the secret edge, or you have to do stuff. Like that's the idea of it. Of course, diet and nutrition makes a big difference, but I didn't do anything crazy or special. I just followed a normal diet and did my workout. You don't have your diet doesn't have to be this crazy extreme thing for you to
math
perform.
Problem.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a math problem. I ate when I was hungry. That's it. When I worked out more, I felt more hungry. I ate more. Keep it as simple as possible. It doesn't need to be that complicated.
Wow. That's so true. And I think when people first adopt the lifestyle, it is very confusing, but just know that in time things will get easier and you'll understand it more and things won't be complicated. In the beginning, I think for some people it is because they just have to, it's like going to a new country. That's what my husband said, Rick, when we first adopted this lifestyle. He said, I feel like I'm living in a different country and and their food is all different. And now I have to learn that way.
Mm-hmm.
And how long has your husband been vegan?
We've been since 2012. We adopted this lifestyle. And he was over 100 pounds overweight, and I was probably, well, I hit my goal weight, and then I hit my fantasy weight, and now I'm like, wow.
Also, congrats.
this
here
is
living
great.
your
So
fantasy.
total, baby, I might have lost even 35 pounds or 40 pounds, and I'm a petite woman, so that's 5 pounds on someone like me is a big deal.
Yeah.
So it was. And when we adopted it, I was the geek and I did all the learning. And as we shopped, he would just say, just tell me if I have this.
That's
no? Okay.
That's who I am.
This? Okay. No. How about this? Okay, good.
Yep.
But the thing is, I bet your husband now doesn't have to read labels.
No.
Because when you've been vegan for so long, I don't even read labels. And I know what's vegan, what's not. And when I do look at a label, I know to look at the very bottom, what's in bold next to contains. Like, these are just little tricks you pick up. Yeah. But because she's vegan, I don't have to check any labels in the house.
Yeah.
Score. There you go. Okay. So Angela wanted to know, what brand of juicer do you use?
So
and
I
think,
just
go ahead.
bought a Nama. It's a Nama J2. So it's a little bit pricey.
What's pricey?
About $550.
$550. They need
But it's a really, really nice juicer. But I didn't start with it. Earlier this year, we had gotten like a $60 one off of Amazon, and we were using that. And I was like, all right, we're using it enough. Let's upgrade. And so we upgraded, and I love this new juicer.
Just for the people and the reason why I said say the price is just so you understand, when you pay a little bit more money for the juicer, you're more likely to juice because it's easier to clean, it's easier to use, it's quiet.
You get more out of it.
You can the debris, the pulp comes out in this little dry form that you can make into crackers.
That's some juicer. Yeah.
And it's also, I've never been into juice at all.
He's very into juice now, though.
I used to always be like, if I'm hungry, I'm gonna chew my food. And then she comes up with this juicer, and the juice tastes good. And,
yeah, it is good.
Yeah. And also, I'm under the thinking, if you've ever taken a shot of tequila or cheap liquor, just it's not the greatest taste, but you do it for the feeling. That's the way I looked at eating healthy in the very beginning. Whereas whether I like it or not, this is the 28 days. I'm doing it because it's going to make me I just did it because it made me feel good. But after a while, it takes 21 days for your taste buds to adjust. I start looking forward to the juice every morning. Yeah. We tried when we got back in town, there was no juice. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think that's important to remember, is that it takes time for your taste buds to adjust as well, because you kind of have to just start eating the healthy foods, and then suddenly you just start craving it. I mean, it's weird, but it's the truth.
Because it's the same with junk food. If you're eating junk food all the time, you start to crave junk food. If you're eating healthy food all the time, you crave healthy food.
Yes, and that's been my experience too. We actually at one time went on a cruise that was supposedly vegan, but it was vegan, but it wasn't really plant-based, so there was a lot
Mm.
of processed foods, and so I had to really I I had to go like during the buffets, I would go on the non-vegan side, and sometimes I would find things there that were
Mm.
actually more plant-based than and what we found on the vegan side, and I was taking oatmeal, and then I was taking kale and throwing it in my oatmeal. Just
Gotta do what you
because
gotta
Yeah, do what you
I
gotta
was
do.
just figuring and before going with this lifestyle, if you told me that I was gonna put kale in oatmeal and say, "Oh, oh, thank goodness."
Kale in your oatmeal. That is the most vegan thing I've ever heard.
Well, it wilts, so you don't really even, once
Yeah,
Mm.
it's the oatmeal's hot, and when you put that kale in, it just kinda wilts into nothing,
yeah,
but now you're getting, like, those greens that you just oh, you haven't had them. So,
yeah.
yeah, it was a very, very different experience, so I can see what you mean. And then Cam, you said that you were when you were traveling, you were living out of your car, so that I mean, that makes a real challenge as far as finding things to eat that way too.
Cliff Bars.
Yeah. So when we first got together, I was heavy on Cliff Bars. When you're living in a van, and so I was sleeping at Walmart parking lots and showering at Planet Fitness. And when you're in a Walmart parking lot all the time, sometimes the only food to eat in like this small town in the middle of nowhere is just a Walmart parking lot. So I just go inside of Walmart and I just buy Cliff Bars by the boxes. And I was on like basically a Cliff Bar diet, and you gain a lot of weight really quick, even as a vegan, if you're just eating Cliff Bars all the time, because essentially they're just expensive Snicker bars.
Right, and they're plant-based, but they're just very highly calorically dense.
Yeah,
So,
Mm.
yeah, so if you're looking to gain weight, that
yeah.
probably would be
Go on a
something you'd
Cliff Bar
wanna
diet.
add.
But I think now, if I went back living in a van, of course, if she's with me, I'd be able to figure it out. But I would, I'd just be a raw vegan. While of
Yeah.
course I'd eat like non-raw at restaurants, but in the van I would just be primarily a raw diet, because I realize I can do it. I don't really want to, but if I have to do it live in a van, it's probably easier to do in less dishes.
Exact yeah, and easier cleanup, that's true. And it's hard for people who haven't adopted this lifestyle, who are just starting out, to think that we could be satisfied with something, just a bunch of carrots or something if we had to do it, because we feel so poorly if we didn't eat that way and we did choose other foods, that we would just rather eat that way than to feel poorly when we're eating
Amy,
those
have
foods
you
that
had
we
a
want.
hangover recently where you ate junk food you weren't supposed to eat and then just felt terrible the next day?
I didn't eat junk food, but I had a social experience where I was a guest in someone's home and they prepared hors d'oeuvres, and I had brought my own food and enough to share, and it was kind of a sad experience because they told me that it was basically vegetables that was on this hors d'oeuvre and mushrooms and things like that. And I took a bite of it, and I'm SOS free, so I don't do sugar, oil, or salt. And I knew that there was going to be sugar, oil, or salt, or some of those in there. And I said, well, I'll just eat this one little bite, and it's not going to be a big deal. And when I took the bite, first I could feel all the I could get this. I got the hit of salt, and then I could feel all the oil oozing, which it would just be like if somebody squeezed out a cheeseburger into a glass and then you
Mm.
drank it. That's how it felt to me. And then I just tasted something that just, this is something. And then I said, what kind of cheese did you put in here? And then the couple looked at each other, and then they told me. So I think that they knew. I think that they just wanted to do a social experiment on me or something.
No.
So it's kind of sad.
Some people aren't dying.
Yeah. So I just, I didn't finish it or anything. But the next day, I didn't feel very good at all, and I didn't have very much of it. But I kind of I felt queasy,
Mm.
you know? And it's just so amazing because I've been pretty clean since 2012. So that's a long time,
Yeah,
you
it is
know,
amazing.
Your
like a
body's
decade.
a
So
machine.
even that small amount was like,
Oh, yeah.
you
Never
know,
too
this
much.
just, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We-
but these are situations that we go into. Sometimes people feel bad about what they're doing and they want you to do it. I guess it would be just like if somebody was an alcoholic and trying not to drink, and somebody would say, "Come on, have one. You've been so good, you know, make me feel better about my choices." So, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
You sounds like you handle that with grace. We would
yes.
never do something like that to you.
Well, it was an extended family member, and I was with other family, extended family, and I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable, the other people that were there.
Mm.
If it was just me and the host, it would have been a different conversation, but I didn't want to make the other people that were innocent bystanders feel uncomfortable. So I just went in the
Way to take
kitchen
the
and
high
found
road.
a napkin. What?
Way to take the high road.
Okay, so you were talking about juicing, and Janice wanted to know: do you eat sprouts and or fermented foods?
We don't eat sprouts, but we should. Fermented foods a little bit. Sometimes I'll have like pickles or kimchi,
Yeah.
Kombucha, a little bit, not too much. And I don't do it myself. I don't do any fermenting because that stuff scares me. I don't want to do anything wrong and drink poison. But
Yeah, you have to be very careful with
Yeah.
that. You're right.
I don't like that
and then
responsibility.
Yep, it's very. And then let's see. Greg wants to know: do you take any supplements? If so, which kind and what brand?
Okay. Yeah, we got some vitamins right now from Garden of Life. We've got vitamin D and B12.
Yeah.
And then just a regular multivitamin. That's it. I think.
When I was competing, a lot of people asked, like, what protein are you taking? What protein powder? And of course, I would tell them Garden of Life because they sponsor me. But I didn't take any of the protein. On rare occasions when I would leave the country and I wasn't sure if they'd have like food out there, I would always bring supplements and protein powder and stuff like that and meal replacers. But you don't really need a meal replacer if you're getting everything from your food. Problem is, people will eat a tub of ice cream and be like, "Oh, there's no room for vitamins," and then eat a bunch of pills and take a bunch of shakes. But if you can get everything from your diet, there's no real need to supplement. Of course, in some cases, you may need to supplement, but we don't really do that.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about the vitamin D because it really is such an important thing. And I think that people should be tested, even if they're not plant-based, they should be tested with the vitamin D because so many people, even people who are living in the southern states or near the equator, they're either deficient or at least they're low. And it's very important because it's not just a vitamin for healthy bones. It's really a hormone that affects your mood. It just has so many different things that it affects. And also with the B12 too, there are people that are not plant-based and they are low as well. So I would say that people should be tested with both of those and then go with their doctor's recommendation as far as the supplementing. What do you think, Sayge?
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. I had just gotten my levels tested a couple weeks ago, and they said everything looks good. My vitamin D was a little bit lower, so then I upped the intake for that. But I agree, is just getting your levels checked and making sure, you're adjusting and taking care of yourself.
So Becky wants to know, what do you eat in a day? So I guess I'm assuming that you both eat about the same thing, but go ahead.
Yeah, we usually eat the same thing.
Yeah.
It all depends. It kind of varies a little bit.
So what she's really great with, just different recipes she finds online or purple carrot. So the purple carrot book, they'll give they ship you 3 meals with everything involved, but they send you a recipe book with all these different recipes.
Yeah,
Well, they send you the components of the meal. Is that right?
Yeah, so this is a meal delivery service. So every now and then I'll do something like that. And you get to pick 3 meals out of, I don't know, maybe 10 or so. And then when they send you the meals, they also send you the recipes for the other meals that you didn't choose. And so I get a lot of my inspiration from those types of meals.
She made a pad thai last night. Was it 2 nights ago? It was so good. No, yeah.
So usually
last time
for
was the mango
yeah.
tofu.
So usually for dinner, I try to do like a meal, like a grain with a protein, like a tofu or a tempeh, lots of veggies. So some variation of that, whatever it might be. Sometimes it's just like a bowl. And then we do the juice every day.
Yeah.
We
start
do
morning
the
with juice.
peanut butter cups at night, every night.
Oh, another good thing that she's put me on is I just make a big thing of quinoa. We use an air fryer, and I'll put cauliflower or broccoli or something, any vegetable in an air fryer, and make a bowl. Just quinoa with artichoke hearts. I cut up artichoke hearts and mix it with the quinoa and add
protein.
tempeh.
Yeah, and I try to make like sauces that I just have in the fridge, just pour that over. We're pretty simple people. Sometimes I will have like a protein shake. I like to work out like 4 times a week. So sometimes I'll have like a protein shake after just to get a little bit extra when I'm working out. Yeah, I don't know what else. Just a lot of veggies. I mean, fruits, hummus. Yeah. Hummus is a good snack.
Side note, I'm excited by colorful fridge. Like when I get to open up my fridge and I get to see all the colors, that excites me. Often when I go to someone's house, it's my thing. I'm going to open up your fridge. I don't care how well you know me. If I go to your house and I'm just hanging around your kitchen, I'm not going to beeline straight to your fridge. But if you let me be comfortable around your house, like, oh, make yourself at home, I'm going to open up your fridge immediately. It's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm so curious about what's in other people's fridge. So by asking that question, what do you guys eat every day? That to me is a very normal question because I'm always curious about what other people eat. And what I realize when I eat at other people's houses, it just always tastes a little different because people use different spices and different things. And then you realize you can ask, hey, what did you use? Because then you can start including in your diet, in your lifestyle, in your recipes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we go through our phases of things, and then we find certain spices and we start to just use them all the time. And then maybe, like you said, we experience somebody else's food and then we say, oh, I never had that spice. And then our latest kick, I think, is sumac. Have you ever tried that?
Oh, no.
So it's kind of a citrusy taste because we're SOS free, sugar, oil, and salt free. We look for things that give a flavor of salt, and that is something that when you add it
Is that like a green bean or something?
No, I would have to let you know exactly what it's from. When I first got it, I knew all about it, and now
So
we've
what is
been
it?
through some
What
other
is
things.
it? Is it a
What's it?
spice or?
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay, it's a spice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just that same Engine 2 Amy lady. We went over to their house in Seattle last week, and they had this like green bean that was it was a natural thing, but it was salty.
Yeah.
It tastes like straight up salt.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. It's not that because that is sodium. That has sodium in it.
No,
But
Yeah, I think it
yeah,
does.
yeah.
Oh.
Supposedly half the sodium of salt, but it's still sodium. So I know I'm not really talking about. This is not anything to do with salt because the flavor for citrus, it's the detectors of your taste buds. They're kind of close on your tongue to the ones that are salt. So so it tricks you when you taste this. You think that you're having something with salt, but you're not. So that's what we go for. When we have all kinds of different tricks. As
The
far as
human
that
body
goes.
is so
I'll have to
interesting.
try that out. Yeah, I'm now interested in this salt-free, oil-free. Might have to
Yes.
dabble in it a little bit.
Yeah, it is. It's especially for people who, when they're aging, and there's a lot of research as far as salt goes, because people say, "Oh, I don't need to worry about salt because my blood pressure is normal." But there's more to it than that, as far as cancer, and there's just a lot of research that's why a lot of people are not doing it, and also what that it does to your arteries and things. So over time, when you're young, you don't feel the effects, just like anything else, and it's just over time you can feel that. So it's something you can look into. And
That's something we should definitely keep note of.
Yeah, I like the preventative stuff. I don't want to have to worry about it later on if I can work on it now.
Just like to be ahead of the curve. If you can prevent something from happening, you're pretty much a superhero. So why not be a superhero in your own life?
I like that. Very good. So if you were telling someone who was just starting out with this lifestyle, or they say that they're doing the lifestyle, but if you look in their refrigerator, you would know that they're not really, or in their shopping cart. And so for people who want to take it up a notch. So Cam, do you want to start? What would you say to them?
Uh, what advice would I give them on their
Yeah.
plant-based journey?
Yeah.
I
As
would
far
say
as being motivated or being committed or taking it up a notch or adopting it.
here's a simple equation that I figured out in life that will get you to any goal you want. The simple equation: 1 + 2 = 3. You are 1 and you want 3, you're going to need to do 2. And if 2 is eating a vegan diet and actually following up with things and actually being disciplined, that's what you need to do. There's no other way. You can do it with a smile, you can do it with a frown, you can do it happy, you can do it sad, but you need 2 to get 3. And yeah, there's no other way around it. So you can either do it or not. Now, motivation wise, I would say immerse yourself with people who are actually doing it. Instead of opening up your Instagram feed and seeing like people hunting or seeing food or other things you want, why don't you fill your feed with whatever you want? So plant-based foods, ideas, recipes. She's learned so much from Instagram, and byproduct, I learned so much from her. So I would say immerse yourself with what you want to be like and be around the people you want to be like. Because if you want to be more plant-based, it'd be easier for you if you spent your Friday night having dinner with a bunch of people who are plant-based because they're on the same path as you are. So immerse yourself with people on the same path.
Very good. And that applies to so many other things in life too. So I like that. Very, very good. Seems like we just are so looking for the shortcut for things. And if you want something with good results, there's not a shortcut to it. So what do you say, Sage? What did you want to tell people?
I feel like I have like an opposite approach to Cam because like for me, I actually spent like an entire year transitioning from being a vegetarian to vegan. So like so how I did it was I slowly started to change what I was buying. So like everything that I purchased was vegan at the grocery store. But what I justified was like if somebody else like made a cookie or something, then I'd be like, well, I didn't buy the ingredients. It's already been made. So I'm technically like not participating in this, which I was. And so I kind of used that justification for about a year. But I slowly transitioned into it. So it was like my pantry was full of vegan food. But I was giving into like little cravings when I was out and about. And so, yeah, I think slow transitions for me work really well. For Cam, he needs it to be like the competition. It needs to be all or nothing, black or white. I'm more gray. And for me, I want to make sure that I'm doing it right. And so I would say come up with like one new recipe each week. So if you learn these new recipes, then you have something to turn to. And you can't learn them all overnight, and you shouldn't try to learn them all overnight. But I think following vegan people on Instagram, that's how I did it. Like I followed so many vegan people that I thought the world was vegan because when I opened my phone, literally everyone was vegan. I was like, this is perfect. Like we're all vegan. And then you go out into the real world and you're like, no, we're not. And so I followed so many vegan people, but now I don't as much because I don't need it as much. So it's like you can follow at certain times when it makes sense, and then you can unfollow. And so I've unfollowed a lot of the vegans I originally followed just because I don't need help in that department. And so now I follow other people. But slowly transition
and I would say progress over perfection. Because you might be trying to do this perfect diet and then you've been good for 14 days in a row, 15, 16 days, and then you accidentally eat something that you didn't realize had cheese in it. Like, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to start over fresh. This is not like AA. You don't have to give your chip back. Just understand like, oh, okay, I just don't eat this from here on out. Do not beat yourself up over it. Like, do not feel too guilty, because if you feel too guilty and you're mad at yourself, you're less likely to continue. Be graceful with yourself. Give yourself grace.
Well, that's wonderful. And speaking about immersing yourself and surrounding yourself, you guys do have social media, which I'm going to include in the show notes. But Cam, you're on Instagram at CamFAwesome.
What up?
Right? And also you're on Facebook, CamFAwesome. And Sage has an Instagram. Sayge Gardner. So you guys, if you want to see what they're up to, I love your feed as far as Cam. You give me a lot of motivational, inspirational things on this broadcast, and you like to include those kinds of things in your Instagram feed. So it's always fun to get a little uplifting thing for the day. So I recommend following them. And you have so many beautiful pictures. You say that you're not a great photographer, but your food looks delicious, Sage. So maybe one day you'll be doing a recipe book because it looks really great.
That's a goal, yeah.
Yeah. So I do encourage all of you to go ahead and follow them on the Instagram and on Facebook, because they really do have a lot of great things to learn, and you just have that kind of influence, which is really important. So did you want to tell us what you're going to be doing next as far as anything to do with the plant-based world? Or
Actually, yeah, we have some stuff to share. We're actually going to be at Colorado Veg Fest. I'll be emceeing Colorado Veg Fest. Sage does macrame. Show.
Plant hangers.
Yeah, she makes plant hangers with macrame. So
I love that.
I'll be the MC at Colorado Veg Fest, and she will be holding it down at our vendor stand, selling macrame and other plant-based essentials, such as like detergent and stain removers. So,
yeah. Oh, very nice. Very nice. It's so nice that you guys have that in common and things like that to share. And now you can go ahead and go to those festivals. So I hope that people who are out there get a chance to join you with that. That sounds so great. So I wanted to thank you so much for bringing your lovely girlfriend Sage on, and I finally got to meet her. And you both are really special people. So you do the two of you just together make a spectacular couple. It's just so wonderful to see, and so refreshing to see people that are having the vibes bouncing off of each other like what you're doing. And I wanted to, so thank you so much, really, for coming on and saying this might have been one of the first times that you've been on a show. Is that right, Sage?
Yeah, I don't do this. He does them all the time, but no.
It's the first time we're doing it together.
Usually listening to them,
yeah.
I do it with her.
Well, you were wonderful. People are making comments and saying how great you are. So I think that you should do some more, because you really have a lot to share. And I wanted to ask I want to thank everybody that's watching and listening, because without you, we wouldn't be here. And you're helping us by liking and sharing and subscribing. You're helping us to spread the message of this plant-based lifestyle, so that other people can, when they're looking for answers for health or what have you on the internet, they may stumble upon something like this, and that's going to help the world. And that's a really good thing. And Green Warriors, tell us what you're going to remember. What's your takeaway from this? And type it in the comments, so when people are looking, they can see what you've learned and maybe what they can expect to see. And please stay tuned for a special announcement. I do want to thank Jess Tass from Jess Tass Voice. She did the countdown. She did the promo, which was really awesome and a lot of fun. And Jess Tass Voice, please tell us who is coming up next.
Constipation, indigestion, food sensitivities, oh my. Dr. Will Wosiewicz, MD, will answer your questions about gut health on Friday, June 24th, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, on Be Green with Amy Live.
Well, I wanted to invite all of you that are watching to do something that my Uncle Lou used to talk to me on the phone and tell me, and it really was meant a lot to me. And I think it may help you and maybe mean something to somebody else that you talk on the phone to or FaceTime with. So go ahead and take your right hand and put it on your left shoulder, and take your left hand and put it on your right shoulder. Now squeeze, because that's a hug from me to you. And I hope that you're feeling good vibes today from watching the show. And I hope that you're going to spread the news of this with other people. And what I'd like to invite you to do is, we are going to be signing off with my tagline, which is be strong, be well, and be green. And you can type that in the comments while I say that along with Sage and Cam. Are you ready, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, until I see you guys again, remember, be strong, be well, and
Be
be
green.
green. Bye, everyone. Bye, Sage. Bye,
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Now you can listen to Be Green with Amy expert interviews wherever you go. Listen while walking, meal prepping, or traveling. Find Be Green with Amy on Apple, Google, Alexa, Amazon, or virtually anywhere you find podcasts. Be strong, be well, and be green.